Hi Lisa, Kathleen here. Thank you so much for sharing time with us live and for all the brilliant posts you have given us on YouTube. I'm so glad I found you. May I ask, could you talk a bit about evolution, please? I think you sent me your address. Maybe that was an accident. But yes, sure, Catherine. Evolution. I don't actually know that much about evolution. I always imagine evolution like this tumbling effect, which has got nothing to do with anything. But I always imagine it like this, like tumbling like one thing to another, like this endless effect of things. Ramesh Balsekar used to say that if you really want something to do, at the end of the day, sit down with a glass of whiskey and ask yourself when you chose something. So go and find a choice and ask yourself when that choice begun, and go and see through time when that choice begun. So say like today, I chose to walk to the market. When did that choice begin? In the moment where I stood up and said, I'm going to go to the market today. In the moment where I woke up, in the moment where I ate all my food last week, so I had no food left, in the moment when I learned to talk when I was 3 years old, in the moment that my parents made love and I was created. At what point does a choice begin? And this is a bit like evolution, I always think. Like, at what point does anything begin in this life? It's like this never-ending effect of everything. Like everything is always expanding and evolving and becoming more and more complicated in a way, which is really, really beautiful. It means that nothing's independent. There isn't anything that's here solely by itself and for itself. Everything is happening because of everything else. They used to really profoundly affect me when the Buddhists used to teach that. That was one thing they were very strong on. They used to call it the interconnectedness. They didn't call it the wholeness of everything. They called it the interconnectedness. That everything was interconnected, everything was made of the same. I thought that was wonderful. It's like love, like us right now sitting here. You think you're an independent entity, but actually everything about you is touching the beginning of time. You are here because of everything that came before. You're here because of the Big Bang. You're here because of the sun, of the planet, of all the other planets, of the stars, of the appearance of tiny little bacteria, of fish, of whales, of sharks, when they jumped out onto earth, the trees, because of everything that's happened. You are sitting here, and you sit here and you think that you've got free will and I choose here, but it's such a crazy notion. How can you be sitting there having free will when you are a result of everything? Everything is so mind-blowing. Evolution is a theory of wholeness. Evolution isn't a scientific theory in a way. You could say it's a spiritual theory. It's like and it is just an idea, but it's like the idea of wholeness. Like it explains how wholeness is creating. Like one thing to another, like a constant kaleidoscope that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's beautiful. And then, equally, at the same time, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. There's never been any evolution. There's nothing happening. There's just this. That's the more boring answer, though. If I just gave that, I'd have no viewers, so I have to give both. I have to give the everything and the nothing answer. The everything is that everything is appearing right now from the beginning of time till eternity, till the end of time. And everything affects everything, but it's all happening right now, and it's never actually really happened. Evolution didn't happen 1,000, 10,000 years ago. It's happening now. It's right here. Evolution is a thought that's appearing now. It's an idea that's appearing now, and it appears to be happening, but it's not really happening. Isn't that so incredibly exciting? It appears to be happening, but it's not actually happening. It appears like there's been billions of years that have led to this body sitting here, but actually there has always been this alive presence that's perfectly still, experiencing this dream that's coming and going. And the dream's not the reality. The reality is this stillness that's here, this no-thingness that's here. And even if you think like, okay, there's now and then there's a future moment, and then you arrive in the future moment. So there's now, and then later on I'm going to the cinema, and then finally you're in the cinema and you think back to now when you're sitting watching me talk to you, and then you think this time has elapsed, but there's not actually a time that you've been experiencing that's happening independently and that has elapsed. There has been this stillness where this film has been running through, appearing as if a world is happening, appearing as if you're walking through a world of things. Isn't that wonderful? So you could think of it like a film. So in the olden days, a film used to be shot onto all these like tiny little pieces of paper, and then they used to be rolled up in a roll. This is just for the younger generation that don't know. The older generation, they all know. And then it used to be rolled up onto this big fat roll, and then it used to be put into a projector, and a light would be shone through it, and then all these pictures would move really, really quickly, creating on the screen a film with a world, a whole entire world. And it really looked like in that film all these characters are moving and speaking to each other and interacting, but actually it's all these still pictures moving really, really quickly in this one perfectly still, silent light. And that's what this is like. There is this light, which you could call consciousness, and in that there is this film running, and then it looks as if a film is happening. It looks as if there's been all this past and there's going to be all this future, but always what you've been is this perfect, brilliant stillness, this white light, which is watching itself. And then it's not even that the lights got sucked in, it's just that the characters got so big and it makes it seem like the character exists and that you are somebody inside this dream. But you are the stillness in which this dream is coming and going in. Haven't you always noticed that there's always one constant, this one I am, this one presence, and then everything else comes and goes? Your emotions, your feelings, your ideas, the world, the people. But there's always that alive presence. There's always you, the big you, not the little you, not the character that likes things and doesn't like things and had a hard life or a difficult life. And this is your freedom, remembering who you are. Because when you're identified with the character, you're totally identified with all the things that happen to the character. And then after a period of this life, you feel hammered. Why? Because everything you love will be lost. And that's why it feels like you get hammered. Because everything you love will be destroyed. So say if you buy a new house or you have a new lover, that will leave, that eventually will disappear. And then each one you take as a real personal wound, like, life did not work out the way I expected it. I expected it to always be blah, blah, blah. And everything becomes super serious. What I noticed as I get older in age, I noticed that most people are super stressed out about this thing called money. And they're constantly peddling just to stay afloat in this society. And through that, they make all these decisions based on trying to stay afloat financially. Not everybody is, but most people are constantly peddling to try to keep their life going. And they're putting so much effort into trying to obtain this money, trying to keep their partner, trying to keep their children, trying to educate them. And they're working so hard and so fast at doing all this. And they really believe that it's them that's doing it. And that's what creates all the suffering, the forgetting that it's a happening. It's a happening. It's not your job to produce it all. It's something that happens. But that's such an abstract mentality to most people. Most people are so identified with them creating money, them supporting their family, them keeping it going, them doing this, them doing that. And they're just constantly on the go. Go, 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 go. Although I would like to apologize because I'm saying all this stuff and I always feel like you need to walk the talk. Sometimes I do get afraid of money too. Sometimes the government sends me through a really big bill and I have a little cry and then I'm over it generally. But first of all, it's sometimes a little shock. But in general, I most of the time trust that money comes and that it's magic. But sometimes I get a little bit afraid of money. But I know with all my heart, even if sometimes I do get a little bit afraid, I know with all my heart the way that it works is magic and not logic, and I try my best to live right on the edge of life, in the sense that I don't have all this stored up cash, I don't have all these reserves, although I do have a mother, but so I do have one like refuge. I also, I'm sure I have lots of friends as well, but I try to live right on the edge and really follow my heart rather than my money mind, and really trust it. And it generally works out, like it makes me chuckle. I keep surviving and I do what I love. Yeah, so that might be a bit of the narcissistic character coming through. I'm telling everyone again how much I love myself and my life. What can you do? If you do actually love yourself and love your life, what can you do? I did also confess that I sometimes get afraid and have a little bit of a teary eye when the government, you just think you've got a nice big fat wad of cash in your bank and you're just thinking about what you're going to spend it on, and then boom, the government wants that much money. If you're in America, you might not know this because I think Americans have very petite taxes. If you're in Europe, then you know this. Maybe in the UK too, I'm not sure. I think the UK is very low taxed. Just about to buy yourself a gigantic swimming pool, a gigantic something or other, a nice new bicycle, electric bicycle, and then boom, it comes. You're like, oh, okay, the government needs the money, Lisa doesn't. Sorry, I got lost in a bird flying up there. Where were we? We were talking about money. Yeah. And so if it does happen and I get sad, just advice on a human level, you must recondition yourself in a positive way. So when that happens, I let my feeling come up and I let the energy come up. So in me, it tends to come up as a bit of a cry or a bit like a shake, or I have a little bit of a dance, and I let the energy come up. And then you mustn't let your thoughts think negatively about money. So you have to feel this beauty and this expansiveness towards money. that somebody isn't taking money from you, that you're constantly in this feeling of giving, giving, giving. Most people have really contracted dark energies around money, and this propels money. It keeps money away. It keeps you in the dream of lack. Even really rich people have that feeling, but they still feel really poor. So you've got to have this attitude. So after I've had that, then I will re-put in thoughts of positivity. Like that it comes not because of you, not because of your efforts. It comes when you stop trying to get it, to have it, to own it. This world isn't a world of lack. This is a world full of plenty. There aren't lackful things. There is enough for everybody. But you are eventually going to die and transform into another animal. But that is again really plentiful if you think of it. How beautiful is that? That when this body, when this sack of water and earth and fire and wind collapses, you get another sack, another one, and then you look from another sack's position. Isn't that wonderful? How is that lackful? That when this one begins to get old, a new one comes. And you take nothing with you from this life. It's a totally clean slate. The energies of these bodies go back into this life, and maybe the energies go into the next sack, but at the same time, it's a completely clean slate. And also, I want to put it into perspective a bit more, like the pressure that we have on our society about money. Is let's just look at Ramana Maharshi and the Buddha. They were wandering beggars. They were homeless. Like the tradition of Buddhism is to be homeless, and a lot in Hinduism is being homeless. It's only in our society where we have to produce so many things for ourselves in order to live. Like just putting it into perspective, that whatever your mind, so when I go through it with people in one-to-one sessions, what they're most afraid of, it's normally that I'll end up homeless or on the streets, but isn't that the where Buddha and Ramana Maharshi was? It's not true, it's a false fear. It's like something that, it's like a monster under your bed that you've never really examined. There's nothing to be afraid of. Okay.